Welcome everyone to the August 21st Career Coaches SIG. My name is Mike Gelman, your host, and we have a special guest today, Dave Meltzer, who will be presenting to us on finding your frequency and building your brand, building your personal brand. And today he's going to cover a number of topics, and we're going to learn about the nature of frequency, and that it's a vibration that's equal to or less than us, and that the more authentic and truthful we are, the higher our vibration. He's also going to share with us how to choose the right content, access, and mediums to connect to our target markets, and using something called stage theory in order to amplify and perpetuate our messages as coaches. And Dave is a titan in the sports industry. He's currently the CEO of Sports One Marketing, which he founded with Warren Moon, as some of you may know, the former NFL quarterback and a Pro Bowl quarterback. And he's one of the world's leading sports and entertainment, has one of the world's leading sports and entertainment marketing agencies. Prior to that, he was the CEO of PCE Phone. Did I say that right, Dave?
Yeah.
And later became the CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment. So for those of you familiar with Lee Steinberg, you know that is held in high regard. He's an award-winning humanitarian, international keynote speaker. If you haven't seen, he has a TED Talk out there as well, where you can see him after this broadcast. He's chairman of the Unstoppable Foundation, and he's profiled in many national publications, including Entrepreneur, Forbes, ESPN, Bloomberg, and so on and so forth. And he actually has the #1 rated podcast on ESPN, which I've listened to several of those, very excellent interviews. And one other thing of note, he's also an author. He doesn't have wasn't busy enough already, and recently, in the last 2 weeks, just came out with a new book, Game Time Decision Making, following his previous book of Compassionate Capitalism. And so we're really looking forward to hearing you, Dave, and I'm going to turn things over to you. And
you got it.
We'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, thanks for taking the time to be with me. Obviously, for those of you that aren't before, very interested in what you want to know, but I will cover what I think is really important, which is frequency. I grew up kind of in a less spiritual or enlightened way. I thought that, 3 things were needed to be successful. You got to work hard, you got to work smart, and you have to work long. When I said long, I had a more long vision of detaching myself from outcomes, but just focusing in on acceleration and growth and what I did. And grew up with 6 kids and a single mom, no money. My mom used to pack our dinners in a station wagon and work her second job filling up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards. My mom's belief systems were basically doctor, lawyer, or failure. Fetus wasn't fully developed till after graduate school. Drove us with 2 motivations. One, Jewish guilt, and the other would be waking us up at 5 a.m. Her philosophy was, with 5 boys and a girl, as a single mom who worked 2 jobs, I had to wake these kids up early so they'd stay out of trouble. She literally will tell you, she let us do whatever we wanted, but we had to stay awake to do it so she was safe. We were all asleep by 9 o'clock. Moreover, through my career, I started my career in technology. I went to law school. My main goal in life was to be rich. It was really simple, which I think allowed me to not limit my point of entry, because I kind of ebbed and flowed to what I thought would make me the most money. I wanted to be a professional football player, got a scholarship to college to play football. I got ran over my first game and realized that wasn't going to ever happen. And so I then decided I'd be a doctor like my older brother. I hated hospitals. So once again, decided that wasn't going to happen. I went to law school, actually reverse engineered my law career by what job paid the most, which was oil and gas litigator. So I went to Tulane University because they have the leading admiralty law program. So just motivated. I really believe money would buy me happiness. I wanted to be rich for only one reason, though. I wanted to buy my mom a house and a car. I grew up really happy, even though we didn't have much money, a 2-bedroom apartment. I had a really happy childhood, but the only time I saw any stress or anxiety was when my mom couldn't afford something. You know, a car would break or dishwasher, or we couldn't go to summer camp, or she was worried about college, and I'd catch her crying over money. So in my head, I was like, oh, you know, it's really simple. The only time we're not happy is because of money. So I'm going to make a lot of money and buy my mom a house and a car, and that'll really complete my life. When I graduated law school, I had 2 job offers. One was to be an oil and gas litigator. The other was to work in the internet. I went to my mom and asked her, you know, what I should do. Without blinking, she said I should be a real lawyer, that the internet was a fad, and I needed to fulfill my obligation as a lawyer and litigate oil and gas. That was the most valuable lesson that I learned. You know, just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice, which is at a broader scale. A lot of what frequency is a faith. You know, later on you'll learn, I believe money doesn't buy happiness. You know, it just allows you to shop. And if you shop for the right things, it'll make you happy. And if you shop for the wrong things, it won't. Well, faith is the same way. If we put faith in what we want, and shop for what we want with faith, we'll get what we want. If we put faith in what other people want, we'll get what other people want for us, and then we'll end up resenting them. Or worse, you know, if they don't want good things for us, if they doubt us or put fear, anxiety, or guilt, or any of these other things, faith and existence or interference to our frequency. Moreover, I graduated law school and took the sales job working in the internet. 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire. Later became the CEO of the world's first smartphone for Samsung called the PCE phone. And then moreover, leveraged that into meeting Lee Steinberg, who they made the movie Jerry Maguire out of. Through that, was worth over $100 million. And that's when, at the pinnacle of my career, I learned about frequency. Throughout that career, I married my dream girl. I met her in the 4th grade, asked her to go steady at 6th grade camp. She rejected me, so I threw an egg at her. And later on, after law school, ended up marrying her, proving that persistence is very important. More importantly, though, at the pinnacle of my career, I realized that money does not buy happiness. And my wife and mom both, throughout all my successes, would tell me I was lost. And I would tell them, how could I be lost? You know, you guys together don't make what I make in a year. I have, you know, 33 homes, a ski mountain, a golf course, and incredible life, you know, married way outside my coverage, my dream girl, and 3 beautiful daughters. I'm not getting how you think I'm lost. The reason they would say I was lost, because I was a very low frequency person. I was arrogant. I was an asshole. I was scarce. Everything was for me. I thought because I believed everything was for me that I was an optimist, because I wasn't a victim. Nothing was, you know, to me, was happening to me, but it was happening for me. I went on a spiritual journey, learned about meditation. The way that I learned was about frequency. I was on an airplane going to India, and this little medical doctor was sitting next to me, and lo and behold, she asked me if I was okay. And I never met her. In my head, I'm like, do you know who I am? Of course I'm okay. You know, typical arrogant idiot. She then said something that shocked me. She said, oh, I'm sorry, but you look so lost. Something clicked in my head. I was like, really? I look lost? I was like, well, why is that? She goes, well, you're so full of light, but you're blocking it. And I kind of rolled my eyes thinking, this is going to be a really long flight. I'm tired. I really don't have time for this nonsense. Then she said to me, do you meditate? I literally just bursted out to her, meditation? I don't meditate. I make everything happen myself. I don't have time for meditation. People who meditate, they're high, broke, sick on their mom's couch. That's not me. I grew up with nothing. I have a Ferrari, a Porsche, huge home, beautiful family. That's not through meditation. That's through hard work, smart work, and long work. I make things happen. I don't dream about them happening. And she said, oh, that's too bad, because I could teach you to meditate and vibrate faster. Now I was just perplexed. Like, what does vibration have to do with meditation? So I asked her, and she said, well, everything on the earth, it vibrates. The earth vibrates the slowest: plants, animals, humans, then sound, then light, and then thought. And she said, do you know what vibrates the fastest? Still kind of lost. I'm like, no, not really. She said, the truth. When she said the truth vibrates the fastest, the hairs on my arm stood up. I was like, wow. And she said, you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. That everybody has a frequency of vibration, and through math and science, you can only be aware of that which has a lower frequency or lower vibration than you have or equal to you. And I can teach you to raise your vibration or your frequency so you can be aware of more things and others can be aware of you. And I said, wow. And through that, somehow I ended up going to a workshop and learning theta meditation and quantum healing, which led to a variety of changes in my life, which was ironic because 2 years after I learned to meditate, I lost everything, over $100 million. I always joke around. People say, oh, these great changes in your life happened because you lost everything. I said, no, actually it was preparing me to lose everything so I could learn the lessons that I needed in order to make it all back in the right way, by being of service, by providing value, by being productive and accessible, by understanding frequency and attracting the right people in my life, and then empowering others to do the same. So since that journey, as you kind of stated, I run one of the most notable sports marketing companies. I have a top podcast, a TV show called Elevator Pitch. I've written 4 books, many different things, top 100 business coach in the world, trained by Marshall Goldsmith. And the basis of my training is on frequency and understanding vibration and frequency, because that's what people are talking about today when they say you need to be authentic, right? Understanding content itself and the frequency of who you are is so essential now, because you are your own brand. By 2027, over 50% of the people on earth will be freelancers, which means you are your own brand. It means that you will derive your success, your career, based off of you and your frequency. And understanding how to brand that and monetize it will be essential. Understanding how frequency works. A lot of people don't understand their authentic self. So I'll explain how I perceive it, and hopefully it'll resonate with you and set you off or lay a seed for you to understand or raise your awareness. 3 things that most people understand is the law of Goya. The law of Goya is what I live by. It's get off your ass. It's working hard and working smart and working long. When I got out of law school with the main goal of being rich, the sales job that I got selling legal research online for the internet in 1993 was a compensation package of $250,000. And I thought to myself, wow, if I can work 8 hours productive day, but what if I work 16 hours a productive day? And what if I could learn to be twice as efficient and work 32 hours a productive day? And what if I could be twice as statistically successful? Then I could work 64-hour productive day, which is 8 hours of productivity. 8 days of productivity a day. And what if I work 7 days a week? What if I changed my perception or frequency or vibration of work and just said, there's activity I get paid for and activity I don't get paid for. And I've always been able to learn to love what I do for a purpose and put passion into that to be profitable. So ironically, 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire, not because I was a great salesperson, but simply I worked 10 years. In fact, I was about 150,000 under plan every year because I worked 10 years in 9 months, but it was $100,000 a year, which put me at $1 million. We also sold our company for $3.4 billion in 1995, which really set me off into another trajectory or frequency. Well, the law of Goya continued through my career to make things happen. I worked hard, I worked smart, and I worked long. I didn't put faith in what other people wanted to me. In fact, if I did, I would not be here today because I would be ordinary. I would be a copy of everyone else. When we put faith in what other people want, usually what happens is we get what other people want for us, which is a copy of what they already know, which also really creates resentment or an ego-based consciousness that creates interference or corrosion to the frequency. The frequency that I talk about, it stems, there's an unlimited power source. You know, if you think of yourself as a lamp, you're always plugged in, and think of your heart as a light, right? When your heart stops, the light's out. That's the way the embodiment works. And everybody's been given a body. Everyone's here to learn lessons. The lessons will keep on coming until you learn them. They result in pain if you haven't learned them. Our goal here is to learn those lessons, but we have to remember that you're going to forget every lesson one time or another that you've learned, but you have the capability of remembering them at any time. So these are all just essentials of frequency, of understanding the lessons that we learned. My life changed, though, when I realized that I could think, say, and do a whole bunch of things the right way, and I could make a ton of money. But eventually, if I don't have the higher frequency, that it's just going to reset itself like a thermometer, that we've been given a temperature, and the way that we change that temperature is by our beliefs. And so a lot of us have read Napoleon Hill and a variety of other, Bob Proctor, and a lot of other greats that I've ended up working with and through. But the subconscious was interesting, that if my actions, the law of Goya created the 10,000 new data inputs a day, the 10,000 new thoughts. How do I affect the 40,000 of the subconscious thoughts, the same thoughts that I have every day, to create new neural pathways, to create a new frequency or a new temperature within myself? And that was through consistent behavior. So where I coach people specifically beyond the basics of coaching of what they should think, say, and do and believe, it's creating consistent behavior to effectuate new neural pathways for disciplines, to create a frequency, to elevate and break through certain beliefs that we have. Now, the interesting thing is that those beliefs are called the law of attraction. And a lot of people study the vision boards, and they believe in the law of attraction, and they know that if whatever they can believe, they can achieve. And they see the combination between the law of Goya and the law of attraction. A lot of people think that what we think, say, and do and believe are directly contacting, or a frequency that directly communicates with the quantum field of everything, that's how we manifest things or attract things. That's the faith that it is. I disagree with that. I think the frequency within us is what communicates to our DNA, our code. So what we think, say, do, and believe is communicating with our DNA, our code, and there's an epigenetic layer in that DNA that activates certain DNA, that activates certain healing, certain plausibility, but actually that's what creates our frequency, and that's the frequency which communicates with the quantum field. And that field, if you think about it, is just like Amazon. So the way that I perceive things is that money doesn't buy happiness. Shopping for what you want creates happiness. So at a pragmatic level, money is extremely important to me because it allows me to shop. And I train people that the goal of life, of living here on this earth, is to make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. That's the basis of happiness, to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. And, just like shopping, if we were on Amazon and we had a green card, we could buy so much on Amazon. And if we had a platinum card, we could buy more. But if you had a black card, we could buy everything on Amazon that we wanted at any time. I believe the same thing happens with frequency or faith in the higher realm, in the higher vibration of frequency, that if we put faith in green card faith, kind of wishy-washy, not really sure, focused, no attention or intention in the matter, then we're shopping with our faith, and we only can get so much of what we want. If you have platinum card faith, you're going to get more of it. But if you have black card faith, you can get more than enough of everything for everyone. The quantum field is directly attached to that frequency. And so your brand, yourself, your authentic self, is a frequency. The frequency is created by what we think, say, do, and believe, by consistently what we think, say, do, and believe. I believe if you don't do stuff every day, you'll have a zeroing effect. The biggest illustration of this is dieting. You could diet, consistently, but take 3 days and go eat an In-N-Out burger or ice cream or whatever, and you step on the scale at the end of the month, and you're like, why do I weigh the same amount or more? Well, because there's a zeroing effect. Because of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum, we get an exponential factor by doing things every day. So I tell people all the time, 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a weekend. If you're going to meditate, you can meditate 2 minutes a day. It's far greater than meditating. If you're going to spend time with your family, you're far better spending, in fact, my own family, to heal my relationship with my own mother. I give her a minute a day to make sure she knows that I love and appreciate her. I call her every single day for a minimum of 1 minute. And my relationship is exponentially better than when she used to make me come down and spend an entire weekend with her. It's just the way that the continuum works. It's the way that frequency works. Working within the frequency as well as working without, because we're a lamp, our heart is the light, and we're connected at all time to the, not the generator at SDG&E, but most importantly, we're connected to the greatest source of infinity of all time. We have enough kilowattage in one finger to light up an entire Manhattan for a week. You can't even imagine the source of energy that you're connected to. The problem is we allow the ego-based consciousness to create an interference or corrosion to the connection of the greatest source of power that's ever been created, and worse, with each other. And because of those interferences and corrosions that are created by the ego, and what's the ego? The ego is the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, the need to be inferior, superior, guilty, frustrated, angry, all of these different needs that create corrosion or interference from faith to get what we want, to shop for what we want. And we allow our false perception of man-made time, the construct of time, to create resistance to that. We don't allow things to happen, which is that third law, the law of surrender, which is the most hyper-aggressive state, to stay out of the ego-based consciousness, to get back to center. I believe your frequency, you have two different mindsets. The first mindset is, where do I start the day? I start the day in the highest frequency that I can. What does that mean? I find the highest amount of joy, happiness, and peace that I can. I do that through meditation, but other people can do it from walking the dog, swimming, exercising, whatever it is that puts you into that state. The analogy that I would use is, imagine you're a car on top of a hill in San Francisco. If your first action is to make sure the car is at the top of the hill, all it takes is a very little energy. A finger will hold it up at the top of the hill. But what people do is they don't have the mindset to keep themselves at peace, joy, happiness, the highest frequency. So they let their frequency come downhill. And at the end of the day, they try to stop the car. Well, you've already been working with momentum and acceleration in the wrong direction. Whereas if your mindset for the day is, I have one action, everything that happens after that is a reaction. So my only one action for the day, the first action, is to find my highest frequency. Therefore, when anything addresses you at a lower frequency, you're going to go back to center first, not accelerate downhill, not add into the ego-based consciousness that takes you off of the trajectory of what you want, which is to stay at the highest level of frequency, to be aware of more so that decisions are easier to make, and that you're maximizing the energy that is available to you from the quantum source of energy, so that you can allow it to go through you with appreciation, gratitude, as well as adding value to give it to other people to inspire them. That's why you're a coach, right? We want to be able to flow everything that we have to other people, to empower them to empower other people. In fact, my personal mission is simply to empower 1,000 people to be happy, so that they can empower another 1,000 to empower another 1,000 to be happy. That's 1 billion people. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million, 1 million times 1,000 is 1 billion. I actually have a pragmatic mathematical way of inspiring 1 billion people on earth to be happy, because I read an article in America alone, most people are happy 15 days. We have a happiness problem in America. People are killing themselves. The highest rate of death of people under 50 is suicide. Opiate addiction is out of control. People are depressed beyond any rate we've ever seen before. And that's because people simply don't know how to find center and be happy. They're creating interferences. They're creating resistance, shortages, voids, obstacles. They're creating a separation between the greatest power and source of energy and light and happiness that exists, and the ability to give it to other people. And we can do this simply by understanding frequency. Am I living my life in the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, my highest frequency? So we need to be aware of what our vibration is. We have to be aware and find that center and get back to center as quickly as possible. And getting back to center is the law of surrender. It's the most hyper-aggressive state. It's not what I perceived it to be, high, broke, lying on my mom's couch, sick. Right? It's not. It's a hyper-aggressive, active state that I am fighting at all times, including me, every day, to stay out of ego-based consciousness, to stay out of the interference and the corrosion to my frequency, because there's 3 things that frequency has that will resonate. 1, it has a powerful signal. So how much am I drawing from the quantum source of power, of light, Call it God, Jesus, Muhammad, Joseph Smith. I don't care what you call it, but something's inspiring you when you're in a state of in spirit. And so how strong is my frequency? The greatest brands have the highest frequency that have the strongest signal. Am I reaching people in China? Yes. I have a huge following in China. Am I reaching people in India? Yes. I'm leaving next week for Australia and Fiji because my signal is reaching there. Not that anything, the content that I say or anything that I've said is new in any way. In fact, I just stood on a stage doing an annual meeting for Denny's, 7,000 franchisees. They stood in line for an hour and a half to tell me that I changed their life because I told them in order to change your life, you got to say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. And if you can say thank you for 30 straight days, and a little gratitude challenge, that I can guarantee that it would change their life. Now, you can't tell me that most people from 50 to 60 years old that run franchises for Denny's never told anybody to say thank you. I'm sure it's part of their training program. I'm sure their grandmother, just like mine, or their mother, just like mine, made it a household rule to be grateful. But the frequency that I carry, the power of the signal, resonated with them, that moved them, that set a seed or watered a seed that had been planted by their grandparents or aunts or uncles or parents or siblings to be grateful and really now believe, because of that frequency, that it will change their life and that their whole perspective will change because of my frequency, not because of the content that I had. And it's really important to understand that distinction because there's nothing new that's being said. It's the power of that frequency or signal. And then the second component is the spectrum of your signal. How wide of a spectrum does it relate to different people of different ages and different religions and different colors and different sizes and different attitudes in politics? Yes, that's what we want to work on, is make sure our frequency not only has a powerful source to travel miles and miles and miles, but also a wide spectrum to resonate with many. And then finally, where's the clarity in your signal, your frequency? How clear is that? Is there corrosion or interference between? Because you can have a powerful signal, you can have the widest frequency, but if you allow your ego-based consciousness to create interference or corrosion to that connection, nobody will understand you and it won't resonate. There'll be an interference. Or you won't be able to draw the power to get there. So there's two sides of everything coming through you through appreciation. So it's really important to know your frequency and to practice your frequency. I tell people all the time, practice ending fear. Right? That's the simplest way that I can clearly indicate to people to stay out of your own way, to get out of ego-based consciousness, which is based on fear, separation, inferiority, superior. All those different anxious, frustrating, and angry thoughts and attacking thoughts that we have are created by fear. So why don't you practice ending fear in your life? That's a hyper-aggressive thing to do, and it will increase your frequency, allow you to be more aware and attract the things that you want to have in your life. In other words, it will give your shopping faith power to shop for what you want, and it will come more accurately and rapidly than you can even imagine. And that's what happens to those people that we call lucky. They have a higher frequency and they've been internally be able to think, say, do, believe. And where it gets really confusing is your unconscious competency, the one that creates the frequency that we can adjust through consistent behavior, is one that's inherited. Now, most people can understand the genetic inheritance of DNA from about 4 generations and down, right? We can see those ourselves. People talk about our great-grandparents, our grandparents, or our parents, and how we're just like them. We have the same personality traits, the same characteristics, the same obsessions and addictions that they had. Where it gets really confusing is, how do I activate and deactivate things that I don't know? Like the characteristics and personality traits of the generations and generations of my family that I don't know or they don't see. Or even moreover, what if I believe in past lives? And maybe I believe in billions of past lives. I'm coded in a way that I could never understand or rationalize. So I'm creating a frequency that I don't know what I'm creating for. I don't know all the obsessions and addictions that are created in the DNA or coding of my frequency. So the only way to impact that is through direct behavior of thinking, saying, doing, believing, which I know can activate and deactivate what exists there and maybe stuff that doesn't exist or I don't know about. All which effectuates the ability to shop with faith. Obviously, the subset of shopping with faith is shopping with money, which is why here at the pragmatic level, I teach people how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And I think as a coach, it's easy for me to guarantee how, number one, I got to be a profit center. Forget the subjective value of what I'm going to teach you about helping people and having fun. But most importantly, what most coaches aren't able to do that I am, through the relationship capital I have, situational knowledge, experience, dummy tax that I paid to be able to inspire people to make more money, where I can guarantee, hey, I'm a profit center for you. That's why I only work month to month with people and guarantee you're going to make more money than I cost you every single month. So the clientele that I have, it's based off of profitability, because I know you have to have alignment with your faith in order to be profitable. The profitability allows me to give to others and help a lot of people and shop for what I want, which allows me to be happy or have fun. It's that simple. To me, it's math. Well, how do we do that? Well, the world is changing, and we have three different things that you have to consider. One, what is the content of our character? What's the content of our speech, of our thoughts? What is that content? We have to be hyper aware of what our content is. If you look on YouTube today, which is a medium that did not exist in 1940, one of the number one videos on YouTube is the Mickey Mouse Club. The Mickey Mouse Club has a very high frequency. It has a powerful signal, it has a wide spectrum, and it has a clear message. It has 470 million views on YouTube. I guarantee you Walt Disney did not create the Mickey Mouse Club for YouTube. In fact, he created a whistling mouse in black and white flip cards. And it's evolved because of its frequency, the power, the spectrum, and the clarity of the message. Where we should stay focused is on our content, the content of our character, of our actions, of our thoughts, of our beliefs. We should be hyper aware of making sure that we think, say, do, and believe all the things we want. It's that simple. And if you don't, you're going to get what you don't want. That's where the corrosion and the interference of our frequency happens. And content, I know it may sound cliche, is king. Content is all you should worry about. Is what's the content of my character? What's the content of my thought, my piece? What is the content? Are you someone that walks by trash, even though you've learned the lesson that I should pick up trash? Are you someone that doesn't put the grocery cart back, even though you've learned that? Are you someone that doesn't say thank you, even though you've learned the frequency of the truths, love, peace, joy, thankfulness, forgiveness, accountability? These are all things that we've learned, but we have to become and live those habits, that discipline, so it gets into our DNA. That's the secret of frequency. The second one is, how are people accessing our frequency? Right? Are we doing it in person, on the phone, via email or media, radio, print, or TV, or social media? How do people access it? This is the first time ever that 4.2 billion people can access your content as an individual brand. Most people don't realize, you have an entire lifetime to access 4.2 billion people and growing. What does that mean? That means that 4.1 billion people on earth do not need to know Dave Meltzer. Even worse, do not need to like David Meltzer or believe anything that David Meltzer says. But if 0.1 billion, 100 million people do, I'm one of the most famous, impactful people of all times with the highest frequency. We don't have that perspective because we don't understand frequency. We have a limited perspective. We care too much what other people and put faith in too much of what other people. When I started to build my own personal brand 3 years ago, the ridicule, skepticism, interference, and corrosion was extraordinary from family, friends, the people that supposedly love me. Sometimes it was done in jest. Hey, where are you speaking today? The bathroom? Hey, I saw your video. You think you're Tony Robbins? Those are the same people now begging me to come on my shows, begging me to borrow money, begging me, right? All the same people that put faith in what I didn't want. They have a frequency. They're going to corrode and interfere with the frequency, a higher frequency that I knew, because I knew my content was good, because it was connected to what was good. It was my authentic frequency. And even today, with 43 million people viewing my TV show, that's like a dot on the people that could be accessing it. And I continue to just focus on acceleration and growth, continue to focus on raising the frequency of my content so more and more people can see, hear, feel it. More and more people can believe it. More and more people will resonate with it. So content's important, access is important, and then keeping different content and access on the mediums that we do, because the mediums that we have are in person, on the phone, via email. and radio, print, TV, and social media. You're not going to use the same stuff on all of those. So we have to learn how to format the content in which we have that is aligned with the mediums that are available, not only today, but were available yesterday, and more importantly, that might be available tomorrow. So if we need to film it in a vertical context, or short quotes with captions work, or whatever it may be, it's just as important to focus in on how people are accessing it and what mediums as it is how good your content is. Because if your content is great and your frequency is high, but nobody can access it, or it's in the wrong medium, you're not going to get the resonation that you need. You're not going to get the frequency allowing itself to work for you. You're going to limit or create an interference or corrosion to the frequency at those different levels. So there's a lot of variables to think about. Now, how do we do that, right? Let's get to a little bit of practical stuff as we look into it. Number one, we capture it in the right way. So you want to capture your content, whether it's in person, on the phone, via email, or social media. You want to capture it in the right way. You want to amplify it in the right way, right? We want to make sure we're testing. We send the stuff that we want to, wealthy, single, divorcees that are 50 to 60. We want to test it out with those types of people. Just because our 14-year-old doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not going to resonate with that spectrum. So you have to capture it correctly, amplify it correctly, and then realize the advantage of content today is it's perpetual. Right? Nobody's watching 8-track or listening to 8-track cassettes. So if you only distributed, captured, and amplified your music on 8-track, you're in trouble. We want to make sure that we're perpetuating the content so that people can view it and understand it with the same power, spectrum, and clarity as they do today 100 years from now. And the secret to it is understanding, as we come to close to get to some questions, is simply the stage theory. And, Shakespeare said it best: the whole world is your stage. It's never been more true than now. Your frequency is dictated by that stage. It doesn't matter how many people are there in person, on the phone, via email. Once you capture that content, you now have the ability to amplify it throughout the world. I used to worry so much of how many people were at a speech. I'd worry about this right here, right? I want thousands of people to be able to watch this webinar, this Coaching You. I really don't care if any of you were here, as long as I had Mike here to listen to me and inspire me, because I know just through my own content that we can use and distribute this to millions of people. How else could that ever happen? The whole world is my stage. So when I'm sitting down for an interview or my daily life and talking to my kids, this is advice that I could capture, amplify, and perpetuate to help other people. You need to find your own frequency. And the way that we do that is to consistently, persistently pursue your truth, your faith in what you want, not anybody else's. Don't be a copy. Don't resent those that are holding you from a frequency or interfering or corroding your frequency. Be your authentic self. There's at least 0.1 billion people out there that feel and resonate with your frequency. Be that frequency. We can get as narrow as you want, and there's a whole group of millions and millions of people that never before could be accessed that you can resonate and help to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. So find your frequency, build your personal brand, amplify, perpetuate it, capture it correctly, and you will be and able to be. Make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Love to answer some questions. I went a little bit over on what I wanted to tell you. I really am more concerned on what you want to know. So thank you for your time.
Great. Very, very powerful, Dave. We have a couple questions so far, and then I'll also open up the mics to additional questions. From Arlene, we have, is faith the same as hope? Are you referring to religion? And then the second one is, what do you mean by shopping? Is it about having choices or something else?
Perfect. That's great. So hope would be a subset of faith. And faith can be a religious thing. It could be a spiritual thing. It could be a scientific or technical thing. Faith to me is very simple. It is the aggregate of, right, the sum of what you think, say, do, and believe, plus the unconscious competency that you have, meaning your own DNA, your personality traits, your characteristics, your obsessions, your addictions. If you aggregate all of that, that's faith. It can be put into religious context. It can be put into a spiritual context, and especially into a scientific or technical context. Whatever way you consider it is true. It is your perspective and your reality, and you should utilize your faith as the same as shopping. And what does shopping mean? Shopping means that you have the ability to attract to yourself what you want. So very simply, if you have a platinum card, when you put it in Amazon, right, it manifests or shops for what you want, and it's delivered to your house if you're Prime in 2 days. If not, it's 3 to 5 days, whatever it may be. The more powerful of a card you have, the more powerful of faith you have. There's a quantum field that's just like Amazon. The only difference is it's free and it has everything in it, even things that don't exist in your mind, but exist in other people's mind. And you can shop with faith, the aggregate of what you think, say, do, and believe, and the unconscious competencies that you have for anything that even doesn't exist today, because your imagination will clothe itself. That's the way materialization works, through faith. And hope would be a subset, because hope is an aggregate of what we believe. When we hope for something, we believe and we want it. So hope is a subset, is part of the aggregate of faith. Shopping, as I said to you, is just a really mass word to talk about manifestation or the law of attraction, about when we put faith in what we want, we get what we want. Shopping is getting what we want or attracting what we want. And if we shop for or get what we want are the right things, and I'll give you an example. I used to shop for Ferraris, Porsches, ego-based things that had no significant purpose, and I wasn't happy. I just kept shopping for more things and it didn't make me happy, and different things that it didn't make me happy. And then now for my 50th birthday, I just did 50 birthday parties around the world. And I went shopping at the end of it for 2 community centers in Africa, which will impact thousands and thousands of people. Shopping for that, putting faith in that type of impact, where I made a lot of money, helped a lot of people, and had a lot of fun. That made me happier than anything else I've ever shopped for.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And I've got a bunch of questions, but I'm going to let others jump in. I've unmuted the lines here. So who else has questions for Dave?
Well, I'll jump in. This is Heidi. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Heidi.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
So this is a little bit of a complicated, possibly jumbled question. You came out of the business sales world and have had this transformation. How do you walk in the world with your newfound frequency and faith when such a large portion of the world is operating at a much lower frequency and is still focused on those things that you've talked about, which is the shopping for material wealth, the ego-based things, and the work world for a career coach and the clients are still experiencing all of those ego-based things?
Yeah, very easily. So for me, remember, it's the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. And so everyone is at a certain spot of where they're at. I'm at my spot. My life's mission to help empower over 1 billion people to be happy. People in America on average are happy 15 days a year, right? So we have a while to go. So if I can set people onto a perspective and give them the tools, the skills, knowledge, and desire in which to accelerate the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of their potential, I don't ever tell anyone not to buy a Ferrari, for example, right? A Ferrari may be one of the most materialistic things that you can buy. It's one of the stupidest things that I've ever bought, because if you drive it too much, it breaks down. If you drive it too little, it breaks down. I thought that everybody would think I was super successful and cool, and they just thought I was an asshole. And more importantly, I thought I'd get a lot of girls with it, and all I did was reveal my true anatomy to them. So through the lessons that I learned by buying a Ferrari, that's the power of what I do. So understanding that life is full of lessons and everyone's on their own journey of consistently, persistently pursuing their potential. My job as a coach is to work within the guise of what they want to shop for and then allow them to accelerate and grow quicker from the lessons they learn from what they're shopping for. So if somebody still, thinks that, buying cocaine is going to make them happy, my job is to allow them to learn the lessons to move past that at a higher vibration and learn the lessons of what those types of addictive things can do to you. It doesn't matter to me where they're at. It matters to me the acceleration and growth that they can have in understanding the consistent, persistent pursuit of their potential and learning the lessons and learning 4 things really: to be grateful, which will give them perspective, make their past better, their present even better than that, and the future brighter. Teach them forgiveness, to forgive themselves so they can give it to others. Teach them accountability, that they're in complete control in their lives, that there's only 2 questions to ask: what did I do to attract this to myself or shop for it? And what am I supposed to learn from it? And then finally, how the duality of inspiration works, to not only draw from the highest source of energy, but to allow it to come through me with appreciation to inspire others. In other words, to understand inspiration. I don't think there's any judgment or condition to a different frequency that people are on, but it's important to be able to communicate. Remember, people can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than them. So we're able to communicate quite effectively by using the right verbiage and the right perspective with those people that vibrate or at lower frequencies. And our job as coaches is to accelerate those learning curves and to allow them to exponentially grow and expand.
Great. What other questions are there for Dave?
I have a question. When you said something like, what you think, say, act, and believe, or something like that, activates or it changes your DNA. Did you say something like that?
Yeah. So yes, what you think, say, do, and believe, right? So what we think, say, do, and believe effectuate our neural pathways in our mind, our subconscious mind. It changes the 40,000 of the same thoughts that we have. The frequency that's created by our belief, which has been written about in tons of different books, I believe that's what activates our DNA, right? That the epigenetic layer of our DNA can be activated and deactivated. That's why I personally believe, and nobody else has to, that there's a reason why some people can have stage 4 cancer and be healed with the same exact treatment as other people. And that's because they actually are activating and deactivating their cellular structure through their DNA that allows the healing process to happen. I believe the unconscious competency is the most powerful part of the frequency that you carry. That's why no matter what some people think, say, do, or believe, that they consistently end up with the same problems, the same people they're attracting in their life, the same resistance, shortages, and voids keep reoccurring because they don't know how to shift their energy or activate that DNA. And I've had great success over the last 5 years of helping people shift their energy, as well as activating different personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions that create a higher frequency or a different thermostat in their life, and they start attracting great things. I see it on the other side too. I see people that think, say, do, and believe all the wrong things, and they end up with beautiful wives and powerful positions and tons of money and very happy. That's because they're not counteracting, again, their unconscious competency in this lifetime. And that's the most powerful frequency you have. I think, look in politics, you can see that a lot.
So Dave, a quick question for you. How did you, at the time after that fateful plane ride you had with that conversation, and it sounds like you had bought into the frequency paradigm, if you will, and then you lost everything after that. What was it that kept your faith going in spite of that? And how does that apply in the world, like the sports industry in particular, where it's a world based on what you've done yesterday?
Yeah, look, I'm very pragmatic about things. Even on my coaching, like the first thing I started is about being a profit center. Well, when I lost everything, for me, I was 2 years into my quantum shift, 2 years into meditation and enlightening myself. For me, my awareness had an understanding that, one, when I got out of law school, I was $100,000 in debt. in debt. I had never really had a real job. I had no relationship capital. I came from a very poor family. And I was able to manifest through the law of my actions, as well as the law of attraction and my unconscious competency, $1 million in 9 months. When I lost everything, my perspective was it's not going to take me very long at all. Knowing what I know now, having the relationship capital that I have now, and also the sense of peace that I can utilize outside of my ego-based consciousness. The interesting thing was, would I be able to do it and be abundant? So, could I provide value and truly have faith in providing value first and still make a lot of money? That counterintuitive, the conflict that people perceive between the woo-woo world and the monetary scarce world, I don't believe it exists. And I proved it, because I've been able to be more successful than ever, not only spiritually and purposefully, but, economically, through providing value and just having faith in the quantum field of everything. And, I took a very pragmatic approach to making money. I set out by one shift. I always tell people, you want to change your life, just ask. What does that mean? Learn 2 questions. In person, on the phone, via email and media. Ask people, do you know anyone that can help me? And then 2, ask how you can be of service. If you have those 2 questions, I'll tell everybody on the phone, the simplest way I could coach you right now is if you just spent your entire day asking people, do you know anyone that can help me and how can I be of service? You would triple the amount of money you make by the end of the month. If you literally, most people don't even ask one person a day, do you know someone that can help me? I do it consistently. I look at my outgoing sent box to see how many emails contain, do you know anyone that can help me? Most people on average today, in the old days, people would have like 5 close friends they could ask for help. Their card group, their Maj group, their golf group, their church group, and they had like 5 close friends. Today, on average, people have about 1,000 connections that they can have on average. Imagine if you just ask one person a day for if you know anyone that can help me. You're increasing your network about 30,000 people on average a month. Imagine if you do 10 people a day, right? It's ridiculous how many people that you can create a flow with, to be of service with, and it's easy to ask people how you can help. The harder thing is most people do not feel worthy. They don't have radical humility. I am a classic example of someone that never asked for help. I never would have lost my money if I asked for help. I could have done so many things and asked people that sat in the situation or position I wanted to be in and simply say, can you be of service and tell me, do you know anyone that can help me? I ask completely today. My secret of success is being someone who asks. I ask, do you know anyone that can help me? And I ask, how can I be of service of value?
That's great, Dave. So we have a minute or 2 left, and I want to make sure we have time to share how you can help coaches. I think some of the interest was in your background in the sports industry and working with athletes and other professionals in the sports industry. You want to just take a minute to describe your program and kind of what the opportunity is for coaches that want to coach in that industry?
Yeah. So, I have a coaching the coach program that allows me, I believe most coaches, especially with athletes, you need to assess the situation. And so I always, with everyone that I work with, I do a free assessment for a month to determine how I can help, who can help, if I can help. I determine the profitability side of what it is. I know everyone thinks, there's a very woo-woo part of this. It's really simply economical to me. I have to be able to challenge myself to be a profit center. So with my athletes and everyone that I work with, I only work month to month. I guarantee that I'm a profit center. So no matter what I decide after a free month of assessment, and the way that I coach is really non-intrusive, which the athletes love as well. And so do high-level executives, high net wealth individuals. I do a focus call every other week where somebody comes prepared with what they want to work on. I work through it and leverage the situational knowledge and experience, but more importantly, the relationship capital that I have. So I literally work with someone and give them access to the inner circle that I have. But I don't make, what I call Barney relationships. The introductions that I make are credible, authentic, and organic that end up making money, not hugs and kisses and telling everyone they love each other like the purple dinosaur. Literally. Then I also have, and I'm on call from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. real time to assist all of the coaches and coaching clients that I have. And I give focus homework to work within the continuum of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. So I actually have 10 minutes of homework for focus every day, 7 days a week. And all I ask is 3 things from people that want to work with me. One, that you buy at least one of my book to donate to Junior Achievement University, which I'm the chairman of, the 7th largest charity in the world with 100 million alumni. I'm giving them that book, Game Time Decision Making, to help them be happy. But if someone's willing to donate at least one of the books to our classrooms, then I'm willing to work for free. 2, that you have the potential, meaning understanding and willingness, but more importantly, that you're willing to do the work. So if somebody is willing to do those phone calls, come prepared, do the homework every single day, not zero it out with the zeroing effect, and then also utilize and ask for help from me real time, 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. I would love to work with anyone to teach them how to coach this way. I have an extraordinary program to coach people individually, one-on-one, business advisory, or coach the coach program. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone and look forward to being of service. So thank you so much, Mike, for the time.
Yeah, great. And I'm going to put up a slide here on how people can reach you, if everyone can see that. And so you have the contact info here. And for anyone that is watching this after the fact that you aren't on live, then you can contact, should they contact Todd
at dmeltzer.com.
Todd at dmeltzer.com. So if you want to know more about the program and see if it's a fit for you, it's a great opportunity. And so thank you so much, Dave, for joining us today. I know a lot of it resonated with me frequency-wise. The further along you got, the higher my frequency became, and in terms of your message. So thank you very much. And on behalf of our career coach community, thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I look forward to talking to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Okay, so I've stopped the recording. For those of you looking for ICF credit, I'm going to give you the second password for today. The second password is champion. Champion. That's the second password. Just email me both of them within the next 24 hours, and then I will get your certificate out to you for your ICF credits. I am looking at offering the Career Coaching SIG on a quarterly basis. We used to, as you know, operate on a monthly basis before we had kind of went into hibernation mode last fall. So if you're interested in having more of these, just let me know, but I'm looking at doing it. The next one would be November 20th at the same time, 1 o'clock Pacific time. So if there's particular topics you want to hear about, email them to me, and we'll get the group going again on a regular basis, but a quarterly basis instead of monthly. So thank you all.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Good to see you all.
Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.